Hello, everybody out there in radio land and everybody that's tuned in online. You are tuned into The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We are the number one conservative talk show in all of upstate New York in the state. Let's make it the country, maybe even the world. All right. If you're streaming with us online, please hit the like, share, drop a comment, do a little, we want to see those American flags in the comments because it helps spread the message and get the algorithm out there. Drop some smiley faces, some thumbs up, even some highs and hellos just out there. Let us know that you're watching and kick that algorithm to get it out to more people. Share this with as many people as possible so that they can have those important conversations that we need to have together. And if you want to be part of the conversation, share what your commentary is in the comments. I'll do my best to pop it up on the screen as we go. So thank you guys for tuning into The Divide. We are here on WRFZ 106.3. We have got a great show. We are talking about how the government doesn't give a flying monkey's uncle about you. And this is what's true, right? Like, I love my country. Like, I got a shirt on right now. If you guys are on the radio, you can't hear it, but you can see it right now. This is my shirt. You know, I make these. It says made in America, right? Because it is made in America and I'm made in America, right? So that's important to me. I love my country, but the government is super trash. And I'm not talking about the current administration. I'm talking about in general. And this comes from the continued expansion of government, getting bigger and bigger and bigger every day, every second, in every single way. A couple months ago, when Trump first got into office, matter of fact, we could even go to the first administration of Trump. Let's go back a little bit even further than that. Let's go back to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton tried to shrink the government a little bit, and it worked a little bit. Then it got bigger. It got bigger and bigger. It got bigger under George Bush, the son. It got bigger under Obama. It ballooned under Obama, right? Trump got into office and he tried to shrink the government. He said, you know, let's get rid of a lot of these positions that are redundant positions or positions that are costing us a lot of money, but we're not seeing any returns or anything like that. And people got mad that he was getting rid of government jobs. Well, the government shouldn't be who you depend on for jobs. It should be the private market that is giving jobs. If the government has to be creating jobs, if you have to be employed inside the government, that shows a serious problem with the country and with the economy, because all that's happened is expanding the bureaucracy, which powers the evil behemoth of government and does nothing for the general public. And this is why what we see is when people get in these different positions in the bureaucracy, they never want to let it go, right? Because they feel like it's not just continuous, generally streamlined, easy work, manageable work. They also get pensions. They also get all types of different expenditures depending on which division you're in and stuff like that. If you listen to some of the expenditures, it's crazy. And we found that out during the whole Doge era in this second time of Trump's presidency. But people don't like to talk about that. And it wasn't just the Democrats that were mad about Trump trying to eliminate a lot of these positions that we don't need in the government. It was the Republicans too. It was the Republicans too. And this is a serious, serious issue, because if it's about Republicans and republicanism, one of the core tenets of republicanism is small government. You know, I'm very fond of Charlie Kirk and TPUSA and the whole big government sucks, because I've always been on that wave. You know, big government sucks. I hate big government. And if you listen to me for some time, or if you're new here, now you know. But if you've listened to me for some time, for years, I've been talking about how big government is the problem. Even on the local level, we see continued expansion. Look, even right here on Rochester, they've got all of these new things that they're starting, new departments, new commissions, new this, new that, further expenditure of the bureaucracy. Why? Why is any of that necessary? We never needed it before. Now we need it all of a sudden. There should be some sort of a law where if you're going to add more jobs to the bureaucracy, you got to cut some somewhere else in the bureaucracy. This is a serious issue. But we can't talk about these problems because nobody wants to actually address the continued expenditure of government. When government expands, the people lose. Okay? Clip that. When government expands, the people lose. Not sometimes, every single time. When the government expands and when the government gets more power, it is very rarely, if anything, that the government will give back any power without bloodshed. This is something that we all used to know and we all used to understand. But somehow, over the last, let's say, since Lyndon B. Johnson, okay, since the late 60s, early 70s, people have gotten too comfortable with the government doing everything for them. How did it get that way? Well, during the Lyndon B. Johnson era, a couple of things happened. And one was the Great Society Project, which essentially expanded social welfare, ballooned social welfare, creating greater dependency on the government. You know, kicking fathers out of homes. It was also the time where they did all the new highway constructions and stuff like that, just going through all the black neighborhoods and stuff like that. You know, what they call it? Not revitalization. That's like what they like to call it today, but urban renewal, you know, and it destroyed all of these different neighborhoods, prosperous, middle class, working class neighborhoods. And at the same time, they deindustrialized the city centers and took the jobs out of the cities and everything. And then that forced more people to become dependent on the government. It's all been a very devious, continued plan to expand the government itself and to create greater dependency on the government. And what also happened at this time to create more dependency on the government? Well, it's very simple. They started to go after the church even harder. At that time, you say right after the 50s, early 60s, right there, the Bible was still an integral document in not just school education, but also in the judicial system. So they started to get rid of the 10 Commandments in front of courthouses. They started to get rid of Bibles and stuff in schools. And all of this stuff happened. And then you start to see the dissolution of the churches. I should say desolation, because that's really what ended up happening. I guess that's the end result, but started with the dissolution and then turned into desolation, because that's where we are now. And we look at what happened. The churches used to do all of these outreaches. Everybody's crying, oh, the homeless, the homeless, the homeless. Well, who used to take care of the homeless? The churches. Then the government said, oh, let us put in some NGOs and nonprofits and stuff like that. So the nonprofits and the NGOs will be indentured to the government. And also we can squander and use them as our little personal repositories and our backdoors banks, where we can just siphon extra money out of there that we said was supposed to be for the people, that we said was supposed to be for these initiatives. But now we're going to put it back in our cousins' pockets and stuff like that. And that's what happened right in our own government. When they got rid of the church, the government decided, oh, we're going to expand into homelessness. You know, we're going to start addressing that issue. I'm using air quotes if y'all can't see me on the radio. Okay. They started talking about, oh, well, we're going to address this issue. Oh, well, we're going to make more government funded hospitals. Because if you guys remember, many of you that are still pretty young, you might even remember there used to be more church-based, faith-based hospitals even when you were little. And now they're almost completely gone. There used to be more faith-based schools. There used to be more Christian schools. There used to be more Catholic schools. And now they're almost largely gone. Why is that? Because the government has continued to put in regulations and policies that make it difficult for them to operate, while at the same time funding outside different types of nonprofits and stuff like that to actually drain power from the church and put it in the hands of the nonprofits, which is de facto the hands of the government. And this is a conversation that not many people want to have, that not many people want to share. And we need to be having these very, very, very important conversations. Because if we're not having these important conversations, who's going to have them? Who's going to talk about them? When's the last time you heard somebody talk about this type of stuff? It's very few people that are actually willing to stand up and talk about the serious issues that are facing us right now. And it's very, very problematic, because we as a nation, we deserve better, right? We deserve better. But when we talk about what's going on, nobody wants to actually address the real true issues. So we have to start to think for ourselves, well, if they're not going to address the issues, how do we get the issues addressed that we want to see addressed? And that's part of the big issue and part of the big problem. When we don't take action as individuals, nobody else is going to get out and actually address those issues that we want addressed. And we have to ask ourselves, well, why is that? Why aren't our elected officials addressing those issues? Because it helps them stay in power. They're like, oh, well, why is the healthcare system so terrible right now? Because it helps the government stay in power. Then if they solve these issues like healthcare, you wouldn't need them. Some of you are young enough to remember before Obamacare when it wasn't that bad as far as healthcare premiums go. Now you've got a government mandated healthcare plan and your expenditures are $1,500 a month just for some government funded basically medical services. Why is that? And why aren't we able to talk about that? Why, they say, oh, well, such and such is trying to get rid of Obamacare, this, that, and the third, da, 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 da. Well, okay, fair enough. But is it hurting us, what's going on right now? Because people don't like to talk about it. Because the Democrats are really good at phrasing things that sound like they're an attack on your life and your livelihood. And they'll say stuff like, yeah, they're trying to attack your health care. Healthcare is $1 billion. Who can even afford healthcare right now, even if you are on one of the government mandated plans? This lady that I know, she works full time. She's on one of the government plans. She's got 2 kids she takes care of, not on government assistance. And her plan is like $2,800 a month. A month. I don't even know how she pays that. As a matter of fact, she doesn't know how she pays that. She's like, this is way too expensive and it's unaffordable. I got to take care of the kids. I got to take care of the house. I got to take care of the car, all of these things. The government expansion and the continued government expansion is making life unaffordable for our citizens. But this is what they want. Real quick, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, drop some American flags in the comments. And if you want to be part of the conversation, drop a comment. I'll try to my best to pop it up on the screen. And if you'd like to support the radio station, you can go to patreon.com and you can go to Rochester Free Radio, support the radio station. If you're watching online and you want to help out, either side right here, it shows you how you can assist, or down below if you're in the other format. So this is very important that we have this conversation about why the government expansion is bad, right? Right now, we'll stay on healthcare for 2 seconds. Right now, Trump is trying to set up a whole bunch of different ways to lower the cost of healthcare, right? And now maybe it is a little self-serving. Let's not think that everybody's so altruistic, right? But the bigger the companies are, the less power the government can exert on them and the more power they can exert on the government. And usually when a company has that much power, they're not trying to do anything good for you anyway. Again, that's also a problem. So when we see with Trump is trying to do the Trump RX, which is to lower the prices of drugs that are RX drugs, of course, and different inhalers, EpiPens, all types of stuff are on there right now. TrumpRx.gov, I believe it is the site. Check that out. And they're adding more different drugs and stuff every single day on there that are at lower cost because of the most favored nation clause that Trump put in place. He tried to put it in place the first time he was in office, but it was a big fight on that. Now he's put it in the second time. But Congress needs to put it in as a ratified thing. Congress is really what the problem is. And I kind of put some of that on the head of the president right now, because why didn't you push through a whole bunch of legislation when you first got into office? Like you knew that you had the majority, and now the majority's been thinner, and they've been fighting him on every single thing. So when they got in there originally, they had a bigger majority. They could have pushed more stuff through. Did they do that? No, I'm very upset at both of them. Okay, that is a problem. Then we look at the situation with the medical accounts, right? Like in New York State, we have a medical savings account. Now, essentially, Trump is trying to put a medical savings account on the federal level so that everybody can have one, which I think is a fantastic idea. He wants them to be able to use that instead of having to use government mandated healthcare, which that way you can have a pool of money to use to pay for your medical needs and stuff like that. They've also tried to open up the collective buying of healthcare and health insurance, like at, let's say, a big box retailer like Costco, because they have so many people that would possibly sign up. They could have a larger say and negotiate better prices with the insurance companies and stuff like that. So this is very important. I think that it's a very great idea. And there are some other things that Trump's been working on in the healthcare realm as well. But nobody wants to talk about it, because when we do talk about it, they try to take a poo on him because they hate him so bad. Listen, I don't know him from a can of paint, right? Like, we've never met each other. I don't know him. But if what he's doing is going in a positive direction for our nation, we need to actually say, yeah, that's something that we identify as being something positive for us. And remember, you guys, you can put down comments on the comments, and I'll pop your comments up. Be part of the conversation. Drop some American flags down there. Say, hey, I love your show, all of that type of stuff, because it helps the algorithm get it out to more people. And hit the share button. It don't cost you nothing. So we got these people right now that want to continue to increase the size of the government. Our current president wants to shrink the size of the government. I'm all about shrinking the size of the government. Now, he's gotten rid of a lot of different agencies. They had the one agency that operates America's Voice. I forget what the name of that agency is, but it's basically like a propaganda arm of our government. And that's cool, but they do international propaganda and say, America's so great, this, that, and the third, da, 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 da. And I think that's kind of awesome. So, but when we have these conversations in relation to that, Carrie Lake in that position got rid of a whole bunch of people, got fired a whole bunch of people. A judge just said that she was appointed in the wrong way to that position, so she couldn't fire all those people. Right now, there's some litigation going through that right now in court. They're doing an appeal, and they've appointed some other lady that does something. I don't know. It's not very important. But anyway, they're trying to put another lady in there now. But keeping Carrie Lake in the meantime and putting them above her. Now, the issue is not that whether Carrie Lake was appointed or whatever. The issue is that they fired a whole bunch of people that were unnecessary, that were sucking off of the government's teat, which is really your tax money that's flown into a whole bunch of positions that aren't needed or necessary. I bet you guys didn't even know that we had a propaganda arm that's like a legitimate propaganda arm that goes overseas and does videos and stuff like that. You know, the Voice of America is just one aspect of that organization. I wish I had the whole name of the organization in the top of mind right now, but it's a problem because people just want to stop the government from being shrunk. Now, I will say this, though. I am not very happy with Trump bringing in all of these crazy people like Larry Ellison from Oracle and Alex Karp from Palantir, and all of these other people, and having them optimize the government. If you guys can't see me on the radio, I'm using air quotes, optimize the government, because I don't trust none of them. All of them are a whole bunch of technocrats that think that they know better than us, that they're better than us, and that they should be in control of things. I don't share that type of concept. I don't like any of them. Okay. Also, they're all largely part of the PayPal mafia. Okay, Elon Musk and the rest of them, go look into that. That's a fun rabbit hole to go down. Okay, and most of them are foreigners anyway. Okay, and that's a problem. Like, foreigners shouldn't have so much power in our country. Speaking on foreigners having a lot of power in our country, I believe very firmly that one of the most serious issues that we have in our nation that has been continuously overlooked is the election and appointment of people that are first generation or are just new immigrants into this nation. I believe very firmly, and I stand by this, that we should not be electing anybody that's not at least third generation America, because otherwise they have no real ties to our nation. They have no real investment into our nation, and they still are likely to have loyalty to their old country, wherever they came from, or whatever the case is. This is a serious issue. And it's somebody saying I should run for mayor. That's fun. So this is a serious issue. We have a lot of people that are right now foreigners in our land that are dictating the processes and the laws in our land when they don't want to stick to the traditions and the foundational values of our nation. This is a very, very, very problematic issue. And it's a problem because, let's put it like this, right? Everybody is allegedly fears change or whatever the case is, right? They say everybody is scared of change or whatever. Okay, everybody's scared of change. We'll take that as a general standpoint. But the fact of the matter is if you are changing the culture of our nation and inserting into our nation and laws and legislation things that are not related to the culture of our nation or the heritage of our nation or the history of our nation, you're deteriorating our culture and our nation. And that itself is a serious, serious problem. And I, for one, think that the best way to address this is to put in those type of safeguards. I'll give you an example, right? Like somebody big on the top of mind of everybody right now is Ilhan Omar, however you say her name, right? Because of all the fraud in Minnesota and everything like that. So she's from Somalia, okay? She married her brother to get her green card and all of this and other nonsense. And that's a serious issue. That's its own problem. But the fact is she comes over here trying to say, oh, well, she's looking out for the Somalis in Somalia. Excuse me, ma'am. You are in the United States House of Representatives. Your job is to look after the American citizens, not a whole nother country in a whole nother continent away, and not prioritize one specific group of foreigners, right? And there's a whole bunch of issues that come in and around this, and it's so disgusting it makes me want to spit. But it's a problem. Why? Because priorities, right? And any elected official's priorities need to be American citizens. Okay? There's this guy, what's his name? Vivek Ramaswamy, right? So another one of these implants from foreign countries. He's from India, though. So he said, us, people like me, and people like many others, heritage Americans, people who are from this country and of this country, since predating the American founding, that we are not more American than anybody else. Well, that's a bold-faced lie. That's a lie. What do you mean that our families and our lineages and our everything is not important? That's a problem for you even to say something like that. That's a crazy, crazy thing to say. But the fact of the matter is again, now this is one of these people, for instance, Vivek specifically, he goes out and talks about God all the time. Now, he's a Hindu. Which of your thousands of gods are you talking about? You're just out here sitting, playing in Christians' faces talking about God, and you don't even believe in our God. You don't even believe in the divinity of Jesus Christ. So what God are you really talking about? And then you're going to tell us and have the audacity to say that you don't, heritage Americans are not more American than other people. Just shut up. Shut up. Because those are the type of people that will erode the foundation of our nation to serve their own interest. Right? And he's already a billionaire that's done a whole bunch of shady stuff to get all that money anyway. Okay? So he's telling us that we're not important. Because that's what all of these people are about. They're about putting their own people in places. Okay. I woke up one day and all the Indians were in charge of every aspect of the government. I don't know how it happened. I don't know when it happened. But I realized that about a year ago. I was like, dang, all these Indians are in charge of all of this other stuff. Now, if you know any Indians, they don't integrate very well. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. All of their priorities of all of these foreigners, because they are very cliquish, because they are not historically from and of this nation. A lot of them do not share our values. They do not share our cultural history. So they can't possibly tell us what's best for us if they don't even know us, right? And that's part of the biggest issue. That's part of the biggest issue that people don't like to talk about. Hit that like button, hit the share button, get this conversation out there, because this is a very important conversation. And it might trigger some people and people might feel some type of way. But let's be honest, I don't care how you feel, because you were feeling how you felt before I started talking. When I started talking about what I know and the impacts that I'm seeing going on in my country, then you want to be mad and all uptight and feel some type of way. I don't care how you feel, because you don't care how I feel, because you talk all types of trash and tell me that I shouldn't believe what I believe. Who are you to tell me what I should and shouldn't believe? Because I can see very well that all of these foreigners that are coming into our country, that are not integrating into our nation, that are not assimilating into our nation, have continually pushed things that are in favor of foreign countries or select groups of individuals that are not inherently American. And this is a problem. And this is a serious problem. The only way for us to actually address this issue, in my point of view, okay, that would actually do something about it, is not let anybody run for any office unless they're at least third generation American. Because culture is important, heritage is important, history is important. And the farther removed you are from that, the less ties that you have that bind us. And that's a serious issue. A great example I can give, and we talked about Ilhan Omar, we talked about Vivek Ramaswamy, we can talk about Byron Donalds. Somebody's going to feel some type of way about this. And in general, I like Byron Donalds, right? But Byron Donalds, I'm going to say it again because it's important. In general, I like Byron Donalds. I like him a lot for most issues. Not very big of him supporting foreign nations. I feel like he's a little too interested in some foreign interests for me. But in general, I like him. But I don't like the fact that he was talking on reparations in relation to Black Americans, right? Like, you just got here. Your family just came off the boat. Like, what are you even talking about? Like, you have no skin in this game. You are not us. How dare you speak on our topic in favor or not in favor? You have no business. You understand what I'm saying? But again, this goes again with Caribbeans masquerading as being Black Americans, and they're not. Okay. For instance, like Ilhan Omar masquerading as an American, which she clearly has no priority in interest in being American. Her whole thing is about power and control. Again, people talking about things that are very important and integral to the history of our nation that have no basis in the history of our nation because they have no real skin in it. And that's a problem. That's a serious issue. Somebody says, remember, arguing with a liberal is pointless. It's true. That is very true. And it's a big issue. But it's not just that, right? It's not that we want to argue with other people. Here we want to have important conversations. But, you know, in the comments, everybody doesn't want to be part of a conversation. They just want to be mad and yell and stuff like that. So this is a very important part of having real conversations, is allowing somebody else to express their belief when it comes to conversations. When I go out different places and stuff like that, and I try to have conversations with other people that believe differently on things, they don't like to hear it. They don't like to hear it. They don't want to hear it. And it's a problem for them. I'll give you an example. I was just talking to a young lady yesterday, right? Now, she's supposed to be Christian, raised in a Christian household, whatever. And she believes in all of that transgenderism nonsense and alphabetism nonsense. Excuse me? And you say that you're supposed to be a Christian? Stop playing in my face. You are not a Christian. Maybe you are, but you're very lost in your ways. Let me not question your salvation, but definitely you are not following the right path. And this, why? Ask yourself why. Why has this happened in our nation? Why do we think all of this sudden that this type of stuff is okay? People think this type of a stuff is okay because they've been told over and over and over again, just give a little bit, just give a little bit, be more accepting, compromise. And we've compromised away our whole foundation pretty much. And we must return to our foundational values. We must return our nation to Christ is what we really must do. And we must stand for national repentance and turn back to God so that the Lord will bless us again, because the crazy stuff that's going on in our society is really jacked up. Like telling boys that they can be girls and girls that they can be boys, and telling boys to chop off their wedding tackle and girls to chop off their healthy breasts. Like, how is that even a thing that we're doing in society? Right? And the old heads, if you're out there, you're a little bit older, okay, but not too old. You might remember when the gay people started to say, oh, well, we just want civil unions, right? And people were like, no, you shouldn't let them have civil unions, because if they have civil unions, then they'll want to get married, right? Now, let's say that was well meant, right? Like there were some people that only did want to have civil unions. That's all they wanted. They didn't want all of that other stuff, right? But the second that they got that, then a whole bunch of other people jumped onto that bandwagon and used that momentum to drive these other agendas. So we went to civil unions, okay, to marriages, okay, to now little boys chopping off their genitals to be girls and little girls chopping off their breasts to be boys. And people are like, oh no, it's a slippery slope. Slippery slopes aren't real, or whatever the case is. What do you mean it's not real? We've lived through this stuff. Like none of that stuff was a thing when I was little. Like nobody was telling boys that they could be girls and girls that they could be boys. Hey brother, I see you out there from Bangladesh. It's good to have you watching. All right. Much love to you as well. If you guys are watching, drop some comments below, because every comment helps a lot. All right, drop some American flags. That helps too. So as we have these important conversations, we have to understand that the manipulation of language is very tied in and integral to how we view society. Right now, they've got this concept where you got to be compassionate and you got to be loving, and love is love. What nonsense is that? That's a perversion of love. There is this great commercial one time for the candy bar. I don't even know if you call it a candy bar, but it's called Kind. If you guys have ever seen those like candy bars. Yeah. And it had a commercial, and the commercial said, nice tells you what you want to hear, and kind tells you what you need to hear. I said that about beats all. Welcome from Houston, Texas. I see you out there. And that is really important, right? So if we understand that love is one thing, but love is kind, love is not nice. It's not supposed to be. And in the Bible, it tells us that we are to love each other. But remember, in Greek, there are 5 different words for love. So when we talk about it now, they try to lump all of that together and say, oh, well, love is supposed to be nice. That is bullduggery, okay? Absolute craziness. Love is not supposed to be nice. Love is supposed to be kind. It's supposed to tell you what you need to hear so that you can better benefit. You understand? And a lot of people don't like that. And somebody just said in the comment, kind is nice. No, it's not. Okay? Because you can be nice to somebody and not care about them at all. Kind implies that you care about them. And that's what it comes to when it comes to the concept of love. That you actually care about somebody and you want the best for them. If you want the best for somebody, you don't want them to go to hell. You don't want to see them shooting up with drugs. But now we've got people that are in elected office saying, oh, yeah, we should just give them all free needles, and we should give them all free rubber bands to tie up and shoot up. How is that loving? How is that kind? That's not loving or kind. You're helping somebody lead to their own decimation. Like, why would you do that? Why would you? You're helping them kill themselves and stay in a terrible, horrible cycle, which they will not be able to break. That's not kind and that's not loving. But it sounds good. It sounds nice because it's all about what it sounds like. It's not about what the reality of things are when it comes to nature anymore. It's about people and their emotional resonance, how it feels to them. Everybody talks about feelings, feelings, feelings. So many feelings. Everything's about feelings. That's a problem. We got too many feelings, not enough actual thinking through of things, right? So now going back to the government and stuff like that and the government expansion, now we've got all of these ICE agents, right? ICE has had a big expansion and people are like, oh, well, we need to shrink ICE and ICE needs to be abolished and all of this and all of that, da 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 da. Uh-huh, I'm listening to you. But ICE needs to be abolished because why? Because you don't like it? Obama deported more people than Trump has deported. Can we talk about that? You know, we've got this. That's the thing. So Obama deported more people than Trump did. That's a fact. You weren't up in arms about Obama deporting people. Obama had kids in cages. That wasn't Trump. Okay, so how come you weren't up in arms about that? But now all of a sudden you want ICE to be abolished because you don't want them to get rid of illegal aliens. Oh, wait. A lot of this is being pushed by those same NGOs that we were talking about in the beginning of the show, which is just another arm of nonprofits and quasi-government and private businesses pushing nonsense agendas into our society, separating the people from power over the government. And it's very, very, very important that we see what's happening. So now they want to get rid of ICE, right? Well, who's pushing for this the loudest? People like Ilhan Omar, people that are second or first generation foreigners, okay? And these are the people who are loudest screaming that, them and white liberals, especially white liberal women, okay, are the loudest screaming that from the top of their voices because they have no allegiance to our nation. You know, we used to have the Pledge of Allegiance said in school every day. We need to bring that back. We used to have prayer in school every day. We need to bring that back too. This is a serious issue, and this is why we have the continued deterioration of our nation. This is, somebody said the DNC is mad about that we're deporting their new voters and their slave labor. That's 100% what it is. And what people don't understand is that what's coming in our economy. I want you to take, if you don't like ICE, right? And you're watching this show right now, I want you to really think about what I'm about to say right now. Follow me on this. Okay, let's say you want all the foreigners in, you want all the illegals in, you want them to say all of this. Okay, boom. Follow me on this. Do you see the continued increase in automation of manufacturing? Do you see the continued increase in things like AI? So AI and automated manufacturing are pushing people out of the job marketplace, right? And AI and automation are only getting better and better and better. If you listen to the big bankers, if you listen to the big corporation owners, they tell you out of their mouth, they're starting to use AI more and more. Soon they won't need as many people. They're having a lot of cutbacks going on a lot of these big scale operations, even in Apple and even in Oracle and even in these other coding places and stuff like that. You can barely find a job in coding anymore because a computer does it mostly for you. So all of these jobs are going away. But it's not just those jobs, it's smaller level jobs like, think about farming, right? Like a lot of people aren't into agriculture that much, so they don't understand what's going on and the massive shift in the agricultural industry. Right now, not only are many states, including New York especially, pushing to shut down smaller farms, okay, which is also increasing the price of food and meat, and they're shutting down small meat processing plants. That's a serious problem, especially in New York. okay, driving up costs. But also, a lot of farms are starting to automate more and more and more. That means they need less people to work the farms. So if you need less people in industry to work, if you need less people in farming to work, if you need less people in manufacturing to work, we're going to end up with a whole bunch of people that are out of jobs in the next coming years. So I'd say by 2030. And according to the CBO, we're likely to lose greater than 25 to 35% of our workforce out of work by 2030, 2035. I honestly think that it'll be a considerable more amount than that. But when that happens, because it's going to happen, when that happens, a lot more people are going to need social services and different government expenditures for themselves to survive. Okay, that's cool. Well, let's look at those social services right now. Are those social services really good enough for the majority of the people right now? And the answer is no. We see people every day still struggling with food. We see people every day homeless. We see people every day that need better health care. So now you want to keep all of these illegal aliens here and people that are here on expired visas and all of these people that are here illegally, okay? That adds to the burden of our society on social services and on medical services. So imagine having even 15% of the workforce that we have now out of work and in need of government assistance. And then you have them plus all of these illegal aliens. Where is that money going to come from? Where are the taxes going to come from for that? Like, this is stuff that's not being thought out. So it's a feel-good concept to keep all of these illegal aliens, but it's not a practical implementation of any type of a policy that will be beneficial long-term or even in the medium range term to our nation. And people will tell you, oh, well, they pay taxes, First of all, no, they don't. No, they don't. Not taxes like most people do. Because you know why? Because they can't get a W-9 passed, right? Or is it an I-9? They can't get an I-9 passed because they don't have work permission in this country. So they're not paying payroll taxes. So what taxes would they be paying? Oh, sales tax maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like, so these are the conversations that we're not having. We're not having. It's a serious problem when we don't talk about the real topics going on in our nation, and we're just like, oh, ho hum, we'll just feel like we're do-gooders and stuff like that. That's how we end up in all types of issues. We take a look at Iran right now, and we're over in Iran, and I found out some interesting information, and we'll go over it in a couple moments here. So we've got the issue in Iran right now, and I'm about to hurt somebody's feelings out there, okay? Somebody's feelings about to be real hurt. I'm letting you know ahead of time. So we've got all of these people that are anti-Israel, right? And I'm not going to say whether you're right or wrong to be that way one way or another. I don't frankly care. That is your personal prerogative. I have my specific views on that. But a lot of these anti-Israel people are so staunchly anti-Israel. They don't understand that there is a great benefit for us by actually hobbling Iran as America, right? Like, they're so, oh, well, we're doing the bidding of Israel and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, okay, so what you're telling me is even though this will benefit Israel, it can't benefit America also? Is that what you're telling me? And that's a problem. That's a serious problem. Don't get so caught up in your dislike and distrust of Israel that you're like, oh, well, this couldn't possibly also benefit our nation. Two things can be true at one time, people. Two things can be true. So this is very, very important as far as these types of conversations go. And when we see what's going on right now with the gas prices and stuff like that, gas prices are going down. They're good. We're about to open a new refinery, like the first refinery in, I think, since the 80s. Okay. we're opening a new refinery. First off, if you guys have been following me for some time, I say all the time we need to open more refineries. So I'm really happy about this. So this is big news to me. So I'm really happy about this. But we need still probably another 5 to 10 refineries. And I would like one to be put in New York State so we can lower some of these daggone prices. Okay? Don't get me started. But you know, New York State and the Democrats in Albany aren't going to want to do that. So, but anyway, maybe we can encourage them to do it somehow. But somebody says Iran is a problem even with the Arab Islamic world. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. So with the prices of gas going down, all of a sudden, with the Iran conflict going on, now the speculators on oil are driving the prices of oil all the way up. Well, why is that? Right? And then you'll hear people in America, oh, the gas prices are going up. I checked my phone the other day. You know how your phone pops up pictures that you've taken over time? So it said 2 years ago, gas was like $4.39 or something like that where I live. And right now it's like $3.39, $3.25 or something like that. Still high, but we're in New York State. Okay. In some places, I remember seeing it like $2.99, but I'm talking about after the Iran thing. Still, it's still down over $1. You know, like, but can we have that conversation? And these speculators out here moving the oil market, we don't get this is very important. Okay, so if you're watching, clip this, pay attention to this. This is important. The United States of America barely gets any oil from Iran or through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. We get most of our oil from Canada and Mexico. Straight facts. Okay. That's very important to understand and remember. Now, also, we have Venezuelan oil. Okay. So what are we even talking about? And please understand that there are different types of viscosity when it comes to oil. So that is an important thing. But again, we get like no oil from them, no oil from the Strait of Hormuz. I think it's like less than 10% or something like that. It might even be way less than that. It might be like less than 5%. So it has, and it's no reason to be affecting our prices here, but it's speculators that are driving up the prices. And that's a problem. That's a serious issue. And using the thing that we're going in with Iran, with the conflict that's over there, it hurts China. China is our biggest adversary against the United States right now. Okay, they've done everything that they could possibly do to hurt the United States of America. So now we're hurting them back, and it's about daggone it time. China has been waging ecological warfare on us, and people don't even understand conceptually what ecological warfare is. You see all of these invasive plants and invasive fishes and invasive things. Well, where did they come from? China. China. Almost all of this stuff is from China. The Asian this, the Chinese that. You understand what I'm saying? So all of these things are from China. How'd they get here? It's China doing their best to destroy the ecology of our land, to hurt our environment, to make it difficult for us to carry on the way that we have as far as fertility when it comes to crops and farming and fishing and stuff like that. But people don't want to have those conversations. They just found another Chinese biolab like a month ago, less than a month ago, right? Which was tied to another biolab, which they found in LA County like less than a year ago. Like I think that was 6 months ago that was found there. So China's over here bringing all types of biological warfare on our doorstep to try to make people sick, to try to kill the animals off. And one of them was they had this like beetle that would eat all of the crops. Okay. And another one that they had in these things was like a mold that destroys wheat and stuff like that, like really terrible thing. And people are missing what China is doing to our nation. Like they're so far into war with us just because we don't see people shooting bang, bang, or bombs going boom, boom. We just are like, oh, well, we're not at war. These people are at war with us. Are you missing it? They've openly declared war on us for decades, saying that we are the biggest threat to them. and their world domination schemes, which is kind of crazy because you think that that'd be like some James Bond villain type stuff. We're going to take over the world. But when a nation state with nuclear weapons says that, and that has a manufacturing powerhouse like China does, you need to take notice of what's going on. So now with these different tariffs and stuff like that, it's been used to reshore a lot of our manufacturing, and more manufacturing is coming back. But we had the court case where the judges were like, oh, well, you can't use that form of tariffs, okay, to do what you were doing. So Trump's installed these other types of tariffs, and those last like 180 days. So he's right now going through some stuff to try to do an investigation. I'm using air quotes if you're online. Investigation into unfair trade practices. We don't need no investigation into unfair trade practices. We know their trade practices are unfair, but we need the paperwork to really stiffen the tariffs under this different type of way to put tariffs on. But the thing is again, this goes back to Congress and our elected officials. When Trump was doing that, we had the ability for Congress to put in more tariffs because we had more Republicans in the House of Representatives. Okay, we had more people in the Senate ready that could have done it. Why didn't they do it? It always is a pain in the Congress to get them to do anything for the American people. Anything. Almost everything the Congress does is against the best interests of the American people. They'll drag their feet on important things like the SAVE Act right now. Thune is the head of the Senate majority right now, and he's talking about, oh, we're going to bring the SAVE Act to the floor, but we're not going to make sure that we do the standing filibuster, which means that the people actually have to come to the floor and talk. That's how the filibuster is supposed to be, because eventually they can't talk anymore, you know. But now they've got it where they've got like this thing where they don't even have to come in, and that's their way of stopping it. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And why aren't they pushing that through in the Senate? If Thune said on the air the other day, and this was a serious problem, Thune said that the people that are pushing the SAVE Act are paid to push the SAVE Act. Okay. Now, I can't tell you whether they are or not. We already talked about these weird NGOs and stuff like that, and nonprofits and stuff like that. Well, 81% of all Americans want voter ID. Okay. And 2, if he really truly thought, now this is the president of the Senate. Okay. Well, no, he's not the president. JD Vance is the president. So, but anyway, this is the leader of the Senate. If he really felt that way, he would bring a clean voter ID bill to the floor. Has he proposed a clean voter ID bill? No. So don't play in my face and tell me, oh, well, the people that want the SAVE Act are paid to push that. Because you know that people want voter ID. You know it's popular with the Democrats. You know it's popular with the Republicans. It's like 76% of all Democrats think that voter ID is important. And it's like 86% of all Republicans want voter ID. Okay. Now, these are CNN polls. Okay. So, you know, they're a little skewed. But I mean, if that's what they're saying, it's probably considerably higher. It's probably considerably higher. So if that is true, and we know that to be true, why wouldn't he make a alternative voter ID bill if he thought that people pushing the SAVE Act were doing it for their own personal devious reasons or being paid, right? If he really thought that, he would do something different, but he's not. He can. He has the authority. He has the power. He has the ability. He has the votes. He has the people. You know, he can make it happen, but he's not. It shows you that he doesn't really care to. And then you have to ask, why is he stalling it? Because he hasn't told us one good reason. Oh, well, they're paid supporters of it. I don't know, bro. I support it. I'm not paid. Ain't nobody cut me a check now. Is somebody supposed to be paying me for this stuff? Somebody pay me for this, okay? Like, what's going on? Am I missing some checks in the mail? Do I need to go check my mailbox or something? Because what he's saying doesn't make any sense to me. It's just Congress further hobbling our nation, because they know that a lot of these people would not be in office if we had actual voter ID laws. And it was crazy because my senator, my state senator, Chuck Schumer, Charles Ellis Schumer, okay, he said that the SAVE Act is going to cause tens of millions of people to be pushed off of the voter rolls by ICE. Well, first off, ICE is Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They don't have anything to do with voter rolls. But since you're saying that ICE would push off tens of millions of people from the voter rolls, are you saying that those are foreigners who are voting in our elections, who are on our voter rolls? You're telling me, as my state senator, that there are foreigners who should not be voting on our voter rolls. That's a problem. You're telling me that illegal aliens are on our voter rolls as well. That is a problem. And this whole time, the Democrats have been telling us, no, there aren't any foreigners on the voter rolls. There are no illegal aliens on the voter rolls. Nobody's voting like that. That's not it. But he just came out his mouth, Charles Ellis Schumer, Chuck Schumer, okay, and said, yes, there are foreigners on our voter rolls, and if the SAVE Act is put in place, it'll kick them off our voter rolls. Come on now. Who's stupid? Who is stupid? And this is a problem. This is a problem. Somebody said, then where's my money, John Thune? I know, right? I want my check. But this is a problem. Chuck Schumer is telling us that there are foreigners on our stuff. Now, here's something that's very important to let you guys know if you're not aware. People say, oh, well, there are no foreigners on the voter rolls. That is a bold-faced lie. And I'll tell you how you know. Because in certain areas, they have made it legal or tried to make it legal for foreigners to vote in local elections. They tried this nonsense in New York City, I want to say maybe a year ago. They tried it in New York City, and the court threw it out. Now, as you know, the courts in New York State are very liberal, but they threw it out. They said that that's unconstitutional. You can't have foreigners vote in our elections. So they're out there doing it, okay? And the Democrats are pushing it. And this is something that we can't forget, that we need to understand is actually happening. And New York City isn't the only place that's tried to do that. So it's very important that we talk about it. Somebody says sometimes they tell you the truth by accident. They do sometimes tell you the truth by accident, right? Like, and he came out and he told us the whole truth. After all of that, he told us the truth. And people still won't wake up. It's so important. Hit the like button, hit the share button. It doesn't cost you nothing. Drop some comments in the comment section because that helps a lot. If you want to support the radio station, you can go to Patreon and go to Rochester Free Radio. The station's working on raising about $6,000 right now because we are sponsored by viewers like you. If you are online and you want to assist, right over here, you can help support the show either this way or down below, depending on which way your orientation of your screen is. So as we have these important conversations, we have to understand that there is so much going on in our country right now where people, specifically this administration, is trying to right the course of our country. It's hard, and the president cannot do it himself. It's got to be up to the Congress to start to do it. But Congress is so wishy-washy. They've always been. There's this guy, Tim Burchett, if you don't know him, if you've watched the show for some time, I talk about him frequently. I love that guy. I don't always agree with him, but I love him a lot because I believe his heart's in the right place, and generally he's right in the right direction. But he said, they'd rather vote on renaming post offices than vote on important things. And that's how they operate. That's how they operate. They do a lot of nothing, busy work. And in the meantime, they don't address any of the issues that we actually have. And we can't even talk about that. How come we can't talk about that? And back to the Iran thing, we've got the issues with Iran. We just had the Venezuela thing happen. That was good. Now we've got the Iranian thing happen. Now, also, I want to go back to the Venezuela thing for 30 seconds. Venezuela also had a lot to do with Guyana, which is their next door neighbor, which is also very wealthy with oil. Okay, so between Guyana and Venezuela, we really raking in some oil control right now, and controlling the oil in the world is very, very important. If we get control of Iranian oil, we'll control I think 60% of the world's oil or something like that. So that'll be very good for us. Okay. You can take it to yourself, whether you think that it's right or it's wrong. I don't care. My question is, does it benefit protection of American citizens? Does it benefit the United States of America as a whole? Right. I'm only concerned about America. America only. People be like, America first, not America first, America only. Okay. If what do you call it? If Swaziland fell off the map tomorrow, I wouldn't notice. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. If Myanmar, God bless all the people there, fell off the map tomorrow, I wouldn't notice. Okay. Some people would notice because they make a lot of palm oil there, but I wouldn't notice. You know what I'm saying? Like, my priority is the American people and the protection of the American nation, the homeland. Okay. And whenever I see anything happen, my first question is, does it benefit America? Right? I don't like that it benefits so many corporations and it doesn't benefit the people of America as much as I would like to, but there's also a great benefit to America. So remember, goods and stuff cost money. So that's a deeper conversation. But control over the oil gives us more control over the world. And people say, oh, well, America is an imperialist country. America is not an imperialist country. And I get very upset when people say that America is an imperialist nation. I support American dominance and supremacy. Like, are you crazy? Of course, I believe in American exceptionalism. Like, why wouldn't I believe in American dominance? You sound crazy to me. What country do I live in? Do I look Mexican to you? Like, you know what I'm saying? And Mexican is the Mexican Mexican American states. Like, what are we talking about? The United States of Mexico America. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. So my concern is the United States of America, no other country. So when I look at this war, conflict, whatever you want to call it, I look at it a little different. Does it hurt China? Yes. Venezuela hurt China. Fantastic. Mess them up. I can't stand China. China's always in the way, doing something, trying to hurt our country, pull us down and make us destitute and kill off our people. Okay. Then Iran. Does Iran hurt China? Yeah. Like 80% of Iran's oil goes to China. Okay. So yeah, it hurts them. And now Trump has said that, oh, well, China should help us secure the Strait of Hormuz because they get a lot of oil from Iran. And I thought about that and I was mad. I was like, China ain't got no business in none of our affairs where we're controlling stuff. I don't want China involved in nothing. And then I thought about it, right? And I had to sit with it for a second and really analyze the situation. Well, wait a second. China only has X amount of actual, I'm using air quotes if you're on the radio, actual military vessels, right? Like, they've got a big shadow fleet, which they're not really military vessels. They're like fishermen boats and small boats and stuff like that, but they're not really military vessels. So in order to help police in a strait like that, they need like some destroyers and some stuff like that, some real serious military ships. And any military ships that are pulled out of the Asian Pacific would be less ships that they can use to go against or push a conflict in Taiwan or in Central Asia, or in the Asian Pacific. And I was like, man, at first I didn't like that idea, but yeah, now thinking about it, really analyzing the situation, that's really kind of a smart strategic move, because he was also like, oh, well, we should get the French and the other people to help out and send ships and stuff also. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess. But when he said China, I was like, what are we doing here? And then I sat and I thought about it. I was like, okay, that makes really, real good sense. Now, I do want to try to shoot a couple of bills out here to your attention. I don't think we got enough time, but I'll shoot out one to you that's very interesting that I want to get out there. There's a bill in the House of Representatives right now. It's the Financial Services and General Government Appropriations Act. And it's HR 7006, and it is essentially to reduce IRS enforcement funding and redirect it toward taxpayer services. So this is something that's very important, because a couple years ago, if you don't remember, the Congress, which was Democrat at the time, voted to put tens of billions of, I think it was a couple $100 billion at the end of the day, but billions of dollars into the IRS to hire 187,000 IRS agents. And who would they go after? Not the billionaires. There ain't all that billionaires in the world. There ain't all that millionaires in the country, you know, to go after the everyday people. So this bill actually goes to work back some of that. Okay. And it also goes after and kind of eliminates DEI and woke programming in the IRS agency situation. So that's interesting. The Trump accounts, we didn't talk about those today, which are like the baby bonds. So that is actually in the House right now. It's already in the regulation, but there are some bills out there, you know, and here where I am in New York State, they're working on the budget right now. And we know there's going to be all types of crazy budgetary stuff going on in there. They're already trying to charge more on crypto mining and stuff like that, put new taxes in. And it's really, really problematic. So we'll see what ends up happening. We also have locally here in Rochester, we got some urban renewal stuff, and they're doing some reorganization, and it's all types of crazy, crazy nonsense. Well, we don't have time to go over that now, but I'll go over it on some other stuff. So hit like, share, and subscribe. If you're subscribed to my channel, you'll get notifications of what's going on. If you're listening on the radio, subscribe to my YouTube channel, the Marcus C. Williams channel, and we'll cover more of this stuff during the rest of the week as we go through it. So as we get to the end of the show, I want to make sure that you guys understand that we as the American people have to stand up and we have to get active. We have to go to local committee meetings, go to local city council meetings, town council, school board, whatever you're interested in. Maybe it's planning and zoning. Okay, we have to get out so that we can share the information with other people about what's being done in there. A lot of this stuff happens behind closed doors, so nobody goes to these meetings, so nobody knows what's happening. That's why we have to get active. That's why we have to get active now. We need more eyes on these people and what's going on, because we know they're not serving our best interest. And the only way to get them to serve our best interest is to hold them accountable with mass people getting active. I'll catch you guys later. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. You guys be blessed and be well. Rochester, breathe. All right, you guys, if you're with me online, please hit the like and hit the share button, subscribe. If you want to help support the show, either side right here, we've got Cash App, $MW real #1. We've got Venmo and PayPal, and that's at Marcus C. Williams. Okay, help support the show, help us get more content out there. We need your support so we can do more videos and have more of the important conversations that we need to, especially now, like no other time. I'll catch you guys later. Be sure to subscribe and follow. Be blessed and be well. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action.